Hi guys, and welcome to this paper 3 video where we look at export processing zones and free trade zones. This is part of the network section of paper 3. So all the way through this video we will be reminding ourselves about the role that export processing zones and free trade zones have in the SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth, and SDG 10, which is the reduction in inequalities. There are also links here with the demographic dividend, and we'll also be considering about the challenges but also the opportunities that a population presents to its country. So here we can see export processing zones. They are also called trade zones. FTZs, free trade zones, and they are generally set up in developing countries by their governments to promote industrial and commercial exports. And you can see that there are a range of Asian countries that have export processing zones. This is the country's desire, of course, to achieve decent work and economic growth. It's also closely linked to the SDG 10, but also consider the role it has in poverty reduction, and that money that comes into a country will be there to improve its Human Development Index as well. We've already considered the link between the importance of good institutions, justice, but also social services such as education and healthcare, and how this enables economic growth in the future. So those sorts of things, the importance of good stable institutions, peace and justice, and the provision of social services are very important to enable the magic of the export processing zones and free trade zones to work. You'll remember, of course, that a major player to this is in China. They have a number of free trade zones, and this is part of a greater plan, which we've also looked at in the population unit, to move economic development into the more internal areas of China. In addition to providing the benefits of an FTZ, these zones offer other incentives to companies that set up there. For example, the exemption of certain taxes and business regulations. And these are also called development economic zones or special economic zones, and they are seen, or at least hoped, as a way to quickly help the country to industrialise. But also, as I said before, you've also got to consider with countries like China, it's moving away from that core periphery model and helping move development into the more internal areas of China, away from the overheated economies that we find on its coastline. China is by no means the only example of free trade zones or export processing zones. Very large ones can be found in South Korea. So the goal here of the export processing zone is to, in the case of Korea, they've taken several hubs, and similar to the Chinese Bay Area development, they are going to have hubs. They're going to have a different hub specialising in logistics, one international business, leisure, and tourism. So a big example here is the Incheon Free Economic Zone, and it was officially designated by the Korean government in August 2003. So within the Korean plan, there are multiple free trade zones, and each free trade zone, similar to the Greater Bay Development Area for China, each of those zones has their own specialism, and they work together, hopefully in a harmonious way, to even spur development on even further. These are absolutely massive projects. We are talking about massive numbers. We're also talking about not just industrial infrastructure, but we're also talking about whole cities and communities being built basically from the ground up. So we can see a tight link here with SDG 11, which looks at sustainable cities and communities, but also SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production. So these projects are absolutely huge, and they really have not been done before in this style. So analysing them and developing a good and robust strategic plan is very difficult. So what we'll talk about is the idea of SWOT analysis, which looks at the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. These are commonly interrelated with each other. One does not sit separate from the other three. If you change one factor, just as we've seen with the food, energy, water nexus, the other factors are likely to change as well. And it can be very difficult to work out exactly what's going to happen. So there is an element of unpredictability here as well. So many people have called into question how sensible it is for Korea to go down the route of these export processing and free trade zones. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, these do take quite a long time to do, but if you do find them useful, I'm very happy to do more of them. If you find the video useful, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and consider subscribing to my channel, because if I keep on getting positive feedback from you, I will keep on doing the videos. Thanks for listening, guys.